गुड
Realize.
इवनिंग व्यूअर्स। जैसे कि हम सब लोग जानते हैं कि कोरोना वायरस ने पूरी दुनिया को इतनी बुरी तरह से हिला दिया है एंड यहाँ पर हर कोई अपने घर में डरा हुआ बैठा है कि आगे क्या होने वाला है। And we also know that coronavirus cases globally is now around 8 million. That means around 80 lakh people have been infected with this virus, of which almost half of them are just in four countries. That is US, Brazil, Russia, and India. The global death toll rate currently is around 4,51,387 patients, wherein the good news is that more than 4.4 million, that is around 44 lakh people, have already recovered from this virus. The deadly contagion that has tightened its grip recently in India, as the number of infected cases has crossed around 3.6 lakhs in India. While the central government and the state governments are still wrapping their heads around the global pandemic that is ravaging India, there are some states that are more efficient than others, including Rajasthan and Kerala. As we all know that Rajasthan was amongst the first states to witness this outbreak in India. And but the good news again is that we have the highest recovery rate in the country. Three-fourths of the patients or the confirmed cases have now been cured of this virus. Rajasthan has currently occupied the first rank in COVID-19 management index analyzed for the 10 states by the central government, which included the parameters such as active cases, recovered cases, and the mortality rate. However, Maharashtra and Delhi are among the top five worst affected states, which have a lower recovery percentage than the countrywide average percentage of 51%. To discuss on the strategies, challenges, and the future plans for fighting COVID pandemic in Rajasthan, today we have with us Dr. Sudhir Bhandari, who is Senior Professor of Medicine and Principal and Controller at SMS Medical College and Hospital, Jaipur. A brief profile about Sir. Dr. Sudhir Bhandari is a renowned physician and a diabetologist and a fellow of Royal Challenge Physicians, London and Edinburgh. He was bestowed with the Rotary Fellow Foundation Fellowship in Diabetes and Metabolic Diseases at Cardiff, UK, and has been awarded Fellowship of American College of Endocrinology, Fellowship of American College of Physicians, Fellowship of Indian College of Physicians, and Fellowship of Diabetes in India. He has also delivered guest lectures in 30 countries in various international conferences. He has been awarded with the World Icon Award, with the Young Scientist Award, Dr. Chinna Reddy Gold Medal three times for the Best Scientific Paper, State Merit Award by Government of Rajasthan, Best Physician Award by Honorable Governor of Rajasthan, Times of India Award of Excellence, and Pride of Rajasthan Award. Dr. Sudhir Bhandari is a government nominee to Board of Management, University of Health Sciences, and is uh, honorary physician to His Highness Excellency of Governor of Rajasthan. Sir, we welcome you on this live session of today.
Thank you very much. Thanks for inviting me, and you have been very generous in very kind words. And I really feel very happy and enlightened to be with you all. And I'm sure we'll share some of the facts and the figures and some issues regarding COVID so that average person start learning to live happily with the COVID journey. So I'm really thankful for having called me here. I'm happy to interact with each one of you and once again thanking you for very kind and generous words and it's been very nice of you.
Thank you so much, sir. It's a pleasure having you, and I'm sure the insight that you would provide to the viewers on the new normal would be of great help for each one of us. Joining him in this panel discussion, today we have also with us Dr. Arvind Agarwal. He is MD in psychiatry from US, Boston, USA, and is also the president of ARIA Group of Colleges. Sir, we welcome you today on this FB Live session of ours.
Thank you, Pooja, and I will acknowledge the Dr. Sudhir Bhandari ji for coming and enlightening the viewers for the post-COVID or the COVID period, and we will love to listen from him. So back to Pooja.
Thank you.
Uh,
And now my first question is to Dr. Bhandari. Sir, Rajasthan was one of the first states to register the coronavirus cases in India. How has the journey been so far in terms of containment of the virus in the state of Rajasthan?
it's a very pertinent question, and you'll be happy to know that first cases we got it in first week of March, and around first or second or third March we got all the patients. We were mentally prepared, having heard that Corona is coming. Just one second. We were mentally prepared from end of February that we could have containment program ready. We should have our preparedness ready because Rajasthan is a big tourist place. So we were anticipating that some foreign nationals, some tourists may come in Rajasthan, and we need to be very careful about it. When first three Italian tourists came to SMS, we were all geared up. The biggest challenge with us was that when first patients we got it, we had no facility for COVID testing. I would share our journey that in first week of March, when we had no facility for COVID testing, we had sent the sample to Pune for testing. And today, in-house, we are able to do 3,500 tests per day. So we were all prepared and geared up to have the patients there. Whenever the COVID patients came to us, we were very keen to decide the line of treatment they need to be given, proper antiviral treatment, proper supportive treatment, proper care. Now, as on today, you are aware that there is no specific treatment of COVID available. So we created a new strategy in Jaipur, first time in India and the world, that we used hydroxychloroquine, a drug which is used for ages for various purposes, and we use anti-HIV, ritonavir and lopinavir. We wanted to create a bridge between a point when no drugs are available till the point specific drugs will be invented and available. And our endeavor to use the hydroxychloroquine and anti-HIV drugs came very successful, and we procured all the three patients initially who came to us. After that, we started having the inflow of number of patients, Jaipur being a tourist place, and since then, our journey of handling COVID patients started. One of the integral parts of COVID containment program is that we should prevent the spread. And the best thing with the preparedness of SMS we had, we were the role model center in the state. We started the formulating the strategy how to contain COVID patient. We formulated the guidelines to treat the COVID patient, and we share all these guidelines all over state. Now, this was followed all over state, and this was coupled up with very proactive approach by administration and government to prevent the social intermingling by implementing lockdown, by closing down the state and the city. So, extreme preparedness of our treatment strategy and early lockdown really helped our state to contain the initial spread of the COVID-19 patients.
Thank you. So it was basically first the anticipation because Rajasthan has a lot of tourists. So SMS had already anticipated that we might be
Yeah, and we
getting a
geared
lot
up.
of
We were all prepared.
so
You'll be
yeah,
happy to
mentally
know.
as well as
Yeah, in the March only, we were prepared with 300 ICU beds, 1,000 IPD beds. We created a separate OPD of anyone who will come with a suspect COVID symptoms or anyone who will walk in SMS with the symptoms of cough, cold, and fever. Truly speaking, we convert whole SMS in first week of March into a COVID hospital, and we shifted the services of SMS to our satellite hospitals. We have 12 satellite hospitals of SMS, and we shifted our services to 12 satellite hospitals, and so we could contain the COVID program very well. with all preparedness we had.
And it is a matter of pride for our state also that we were able to experiment with a drug, and we were able to come successfully out of it by mixing hydrogen chlorophyll drug and anti-HIV drug, which help in
Yeah,
curing.
yeah.
And I think the world started following this
Yeah,
treatment later
I
on.
must share with you that when we started using this combination of drugs, we shared our data with ICMR. World over, the curiosity started. I got a call from United Nations. I got a call from doctors from Europe and the other continents in Australia. We shared our experience because we have been using hydroxychloroquine for ages and ages in malaria, in rheumatoid disease, and a lot of other diseases. And we have been using the HIV drugs for last many few years. And there was enough scientific documentary evidence that these drugs have been effective in containing the SARS-CoV virus, which has been lately labeled as COVID-19. So this was one of the most effective way we manage our COVID patients. And since then, we never looked back. In addition to, I must share with you that as the time passed, our number of patients kept on increasing and increasing. So some information I would like to share with my friends and viewers here that there is no reason to worry about COVID-19. Whenever there is a patient of COVID-19 comes, there could be a spectrum of symptoms from no symptom till the gravity or the severe symptoms. So that statistically, in COVID-19 cases, 80% people are asymptomatic or they have very mild symptoms which gets cured very fast. 15 to 16% patients have mild symptoms which require hospitalization, and only 2 to 3% people who have comorbid conditions like people who are having diabetes, people are having high blood pressure, heart problem, obesity, asthma, or cancer. And if they fall in the age group, which is above 60, they need to be very careful. They need to be attended very scientifically and aggressively because they might have some other complications much faster than rest of the population.
Sir, I just have a curiosity. I was just hearing it recently that this virus does not spread from asymptomatic cases. Is it true?
No, I must share with you before I answer your specific question, you should know about the character of the virus. This virus has a fatty envelope and it inhabits itself in the respiratory tree, throat, and the nasopharynx. Whenever a person who carries the virus discharges the virus into atmosphere by way when he talks, the way if he coughs, or the way he sneezes. So this virus gets into atmosphere in the form of droplets. This is a unfortunate incorrect news. Asymptomatic spreaders can also spread the virus. I must share with you that COVID-19 virus has an incubation period of 2 to 14 days. It means if someone has come in contact with the virus and if he becomes symptomatic, he can be symptomatic from 2 days to 14 days anytime. But I must tell you how this virus produces symptoms. 80%, as I said, patient may be asymptomatic. It means they may come in contact with some person or they may come in contact with a patient who is having the virus. They might have not protected themselves by not using mask or something, or they might have touched their hand at a surface which has been impregnated with the virus and touching the face. These people, they get infected. They may be asymptomatic, but asymptomatic patients don't go by this belief. They can spread virus by talking. They can spread virus by coughing and sneezing. There is a condition known as pre-symptomatic spread. It means any asymptomatic patient who is tested, who is come out to be positive, but 2 to 3 days prior to the patient coming positive, he is or she is highly infectious. For example, a patient comes positive today, it means 2 to 3 days prior to today's patient would have been very infective, and we need to be very careful about tracing the contacts who came in contact with him 2 to 3 days. So the day patient is found to be positive for COVID, he is considered to be very infectious 2 to 3 days prior, even if he has no symptoms. And if the patient has no symptom, even then, patient has a capacity to spread the virus by talking, speaking, etc. And that is the reason the masking is most important. You know, in a COVID containment program, three things are most important if you want to prevent the interpersonal spread. One is the masking, second is the social distancing, and third is the sanitization. Now, if a patient who uses or a person who got infected, whether he is symptomatic or asymptomatic, if he uses mask, his droplets when he speaks or coughs or sneezes doesn't go into the atmosphere. That's the reason he is not infecting other people around. At the same time, even if people are not around and you are harboring virus, and if you cough, if you sneeze or you speak, the droplet may come out of your mouth. They can go up to 1 to 3 feet in atmosphere, and these droplets then fall down on the surface. Suppose you are sitting on a dining table, you are COVID positive, you are not using your mask, and the droplets which comes out when you talk or speak will go 1 to 3 feet, fall down on dining table. Any COVID virus droplets which falls on the solid surface may remain alive for 7 to 9 days. Make sure 7 to 9 days. So if any person or family member comes, touches his hand on those solid surface, any guest comes, touches on hand those solid surface, then definitely they have a risk of carrying virus with them, and accidentally if they touch the hand to the face, they may infect. So now you see the sanctity of using mask is that if you are carrier, you don't put virus in atmosphere. If you are not a carrier, you protect yourself from droplets in the air spread out by other person. Sanctity of hand wash. If you have touched any surface accidentally, you have touched the handle of the chair, if you touch the handle of the railing in the hotel or office or home, if you touch the knob of the house door where any infected person in your office would have touched those doors, you wash your hand thoroughly. And you may wash your hand with the soap and you wash your hand with the sanitizer so that you kill if accidentally you contaminated your hands with the virus so that you don't spread to your face or anything. And third component is social distancing. As I talk to you, that if anyone who harbors the virus, when he speaks, coughs, or sneezes, the virus may go in a droplet form for 1 to 3 feet. So even if accidentally someone coughs or someone sneezes, what you can do is that you keep a distance of 4 to 6 feet so that even if someone has the infected droplets, you protect yourself by not coming in contact with droplets. So if you follow three integral parts of masking, the hand washing, and social distancing, and this principle you have to adopt in every sphere of your activity at office, at home, in going out, going to a mall, going to a shop. You have to follow these protocols to prevent the spread and to contact the water droplets from outside. And this is very important when the patients come to us, to their attendants, we convey.
Thank you, sir. So it is very, very important that we all follow masking, social distancing, and sanitization and hand wash if we want to save ourselves from this virus.
And
My
make
next
sure that asymptomatic patients are also spreaders.
all
So you
spreaders.
don't take asymptomatic granted. Never meet them without masking.
Yes. My next question is to Dr. Arvind. Sir, there's a lot of theories which are going around which says that there is a controversy, in fact, which says that coronavirus, is it a natural virus or is it a lab-made virus by China? So what is your take on it?
First, I will like to convey my gratitude to Dr. Bhandari sir. You have come to our platform for enlightening our students about the coronavirus. It is a great opportunity for our students to learn directly
Thank you.
from you.
Thank you.
And I do believe in conspiracy theory because it is a lab made virus, because the virus naturally in the bat and the genome what is we are finding into the is only 73% match, and 27% of the genome is not matching with the coronavirus which is in the bats, residing in the bat. Either it has mutated or been transmutated in the certain species from where the human species has got this virus, or otherwise there is new theory that gene editing has been come and CRISPR technology has come, where you can mix and match the cocktail type of virus can be produced, and the pathogenicity and the origin and the spread and the kind of it is the pandemic within 2 months, and WHO has to call it as a pandemic within 2 months. It's itself is a big issue. How can a natural virus residing in natural habitats can become so pathogenic that it can travel so fast, can cause so much harm to the human beings, where medicine is so much uh, advanced. It is not like influenza virus of 1920s where the medical science was not there. So we are very grateful that we have the Dr. Bhandari sir with us, and he could understand that it is a not a natural virus, and it might be a mix of virus, or the genome or the genetic material of virus is being mixed. So hydrochloroquine and SCQ and the cocktail of the HIV treat worked very well. And this is very good that Ki sir has taken the initiative to give around 50,000 paramedical and medical staff front workers the prophylactic dose of hydroxychloroquine SCQ, and we were safe by that. And for us, it is certainly a retrovirus, which is as a many activities like HIV virus, latent virus. So I think it is a mix of HIV virus and a natural coronavirus. It is a genetically modified lab made virus. Thank
So
you.
according to you, it is gene editing has been done of this virus because only 27% of the genome matches with that of the bat.
73. 27
70
doesn't match.
doesn't match. Sorry. My next question is to Dr. Bhandari. So, what challenges have occurred to achieve this staggering recovery rate, and how are those problems resolved?
Yes, I think this is a very important question. Whenever we had this acute COVID situation, very scientifically it was worked up and analyzed. We graded the patients in a category. The asymptomatic patients means they came from the area where the COVID was rampant, what we call it to be hot zone, but they had no symptom and they tested positive. Then mildly symptom, moderately symptom, and critical symptoms. It was an established fact that people from mild, moderate, and asymptomatic didn't have much risk to life, but people with the critical symptoms had significant risk to life if they had comorbid condition in diabetes, hypertension, heart problem, etc. So we had a great strategy to treat the patients. People who came with the mild to moderate symptoms, they were treated adequately, they were hospitalized, they were quarantined, and they were subjected to number of tests. There's been a changing guidelines from time to time. Initially, we held them in hospital for 14 days, but now the changing guideline says that asymptomatic or mildly symptomatic, if the patients are comfortable, you can hold them as long as they are in hospital. Otherwise, you can send them back home also. When moderate to severe symptomatic patient came, we were well aware that what kind of complications these can be there in these patients. And SMS Medical College was a role model hospital in the state. You'll be surprised that world-class management of COVID-19 patient, which is there anywhere in the world, we did it SMS. The type of investigations and management we subjected COVID patients to be, all those COVID patients who came in the moderate to severe category, they were subjected to CT scan of chest, they were subjected to pulmonary CT angiography, because we discovered that it is not only the pneumonia with COVID-19, but there are small blood clots, what we call it to be thrombus, which happens in the lung in COVID-19 patient, which is causing the sickness and death. Then we were doing a special cytokine storm estimation. These are the latest chemicals, interleukins, TNF alpha, etc., which shows the gravity of complication in COVID-19 patient. We started ultrasound of the lung, echo with Doppler study. So whatever the top of the line investigations, which could define the damage in the patient and the gravity of situation in moderate to severe patient, we started doing it as soon as. Now, once we did it, then we became very proactive in management. You must have heard the COVID plasma therapy. Today, we are pioneer in country giving the COVID plasma therapy. I must explain to my viewers and students what is COVID plasma therapy. That any person who had COVID-19 infection, who recovers within 14 days, then after recovery, even 2 weeks more we wait, and after 14 days of full recovery, when the test is negative, we take the plasma of the recovered patient. This plasma contains the antibodies, and these antibodies, when given to the suffering patient, the patient recovers faster. So we started doing the COVID plasma therapy in the moderate to severe patient. Then there is a cytokine storm. Just for the brilliant student of your college, I would say cytokine storm is a condition in which certain chemicals which causes damage to heart, damage to lung, damage to kidney, damage to brain, known as interleukin 1, interleukin 6, interleukin 10, TNF alpha, which gets formed and it gets collected in COVID-19 patients. So we started using them, and we started using monoclonal antibodies to treat them. Not only this, seeing our endeavor initially of SMS of using hydroxychloroquine and two of the antiviral drugs, WHO started a trial known as Solidarity trial, in which they started, you must have heard a drug on net or anywhere, remdesivir. It is one of the latest drug in trial in America. So we became a part of the Solidarity trial. We are the again pioneer in country. So we started these antiviral drugs, the remdesivir newer drug, the plasma, which is over the time we have been using, and standard of care. So we were very strong in our patient management of the COVID-19 patient. You'll be surprised that we had 300 ventilators ready for COVID-19 patient, and last 3 months we used only 10 ventilators. We did not require to use ventilators because our treatment was so proactive, our treatment was so intense that patient recovered faster and faster. So I would give credit of such high recovery, a intense foresightedness of our administrators and the government, so that they did early lockdown and early containment program in a hot spot like Ramganj in Jaipur or Bhilwara in another district. Then very intense medical containment program, very intense facilities to quarantine the patients, very intense facilities to keep the patients admitted, very intense IPT facilities. So overall, very intense administrative reforms and very intense preparedness of the medical team with all the modalities of treatment, starting from antiviral drugs to the plasma therapy to the monoclonal antibody therapy, name anything which is required for COVID-19 patients, we have been doing. We discovered in our autopsy findings that there are blood clots responsible for that. So we have been giving the latest treatment to dissolve the blood clots in the lungs. We have been giving latest treatment to not to have these choking of the blood arteries in the lung. So all this helped us to have a very good recovery rate in the state of Rajasthan.
So it is the efficient management of the administration and the doctors which helped in countering this pandemic, because grading the patients certainly helped by understanding what kind of treatment is required for the patient. And the best thing is the COVID plasma therapy that we've started doing and using the antibodies produced by these recovered patients for the
Yes,
current patients
yes,
is going to help in the recovery. And
yes,
the best thing that you told was that though SMS has 300 ventilators ready, the need or the requirement was only of 10 ventilators, which is a
yes,
very positive news for all our viewers. And the antiviral drugs and the experimenting, the best part thing I feel is that the experiment that SMS did with the drugs in giving it to the patient certainly was a bold step, and it certainly helped, or was a step in the right direction, which helped in the recovery of the patients.
Now, these figure and facts, I would like audience to view as a very positive indication. There's a
Yes.
stress, there's a depression. And as a psychiatrist, Dr. Agarwal knows much more better than me that this is the time patients are suffering double the fear psychosis,
Yes.
stress,
Yes.
and anxiety. So, the statistics I'm going to give to the audience is that I would strongly share with you that 80 to 85% people who contact COVID have no symptoms or they have mild symptoms, so there's no risk to life. 15 to 16% patients, they have even mild symptoms, they recover fully. It is only 2 to 3% patients in Jaipur or Rajasthan, we have lost only 2.3% patients. Who are these? These are our parents and the grandparents who have been having chronic diseases like diabetes, hypertension, heart problem, asthma, etc. So my message to the audience at large will be there. Please concentrate on your parents and the grandparents. Don't let them come out of the house. Protect them for at least next 2 to 3 months. Keep them happy at home, and anyone who comes new to the home has to meet your parents and grandparents with mask on because they are the susceptible lot. This is number one. Number two, all the parents and grandparents who have any chronic disease, as I talk to you of so many diseases, ensure that they keep those diseases under control. Keep sugar under control, blood pressure under control, cardiac condition under control, asthma in control, so that their immunity is maintained, their immunity doesn't go down, and their risk of contacting COVID patient in spite of having comorbid conditions. Comorbid means we call it associated diseases. So in spite of having comorbid conditions and in spite of having age effect, they are safe and secure, which is very important. Number one, if you know that COVID is almost safe in 96 to 97% patient, probably I'll be able to take off much of the worries. And remaining 2 to 3% high risk prone patient, follow. Old people, don't allow them to go out. Old people need not to go to the shopping or market or temples or buying the fruits and vegetables that they are very fond of. Preferably, don't let them go for morning walking or evening walking in a group. Let them feel happy. Secondly, even people who are not old but try to move minimum to the society or outside unless it is mandatory. Just don't go out except buying the grocery or the essential things for the home. You could delay or you should avoid the unnecessary or the shopping issues at this time and try to stay very happy and healthy. Eat well, improve your nutrition, eat lot of fruits and juices. If should be careful about the diabetic, improve your immunity. Vitamin C and antioxidant help you to improve your immunity. Stay healthy, but at the same time, never let the boredom set down. I'm sure Dr. Agarwal is much brighter in this
Right.
aspect, but I would suggest that have your proper breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Try to do some yoga, try to do some exercise, see some good movies or the good programs, spend some more time with your family. And I must share with you that elderly people with comorbid conditions who have been at home maintaining all their parameters by regular medications, doing little yoga exercise and keeping themselves healthy, they have been doing really better than what they were used to do before the lockdown. So I think just follow that this is a disease, and these 2 to 3% people also. Again, I told you the three mantras of masking, the social distancing, and hand washing. If you follow in every sphere of your life, every activity of your life, probably we can tide over this high risk group of 2 to 3% also very well.
So I'm sure the figures that you have shared with us are certainly very encouraging, that 96% of the people do not have that kind of risk. It is only the 4% of the people who have other symptoms as well, who are suffering from other diseases. They are under risk, and if they take proper precaution, then they are also completely safe. But in spite of all these figures, the fact remains that most of us feel the stress, the strain, the tension, the anxiety, and it is certainly affecting our mental health in a big way. So, my next question is to Dr. Arvind, that how has COVID-19 affected the mental health of the people?
Very good question. Mental health is a very big aspect of the health as per the definition of WHO. Mental health is one thing which has to be perceived. A physical health you can see and you can diagnose and you can give the treatment. But the mental health is one of the challenges is you have to perceive and then you have to understand the mental condition, the stress, anxiety, phobia or fear psychosis which is going around with the COVID-19 and especially with the lockdown and isolation condition. Because of the lockdown and isolation, a lot of things are happening, and has become a socio-economical problem also. It is not about mental health or about the isolation or lockdown. Socio-economical because people who are working and going out now they have to sit, work from home culture, anxiety, stress. They are maybe working more, and then economically because certain people are at loss with the income and they are fearing, and the perception of the future is really creating a psychosis or fear of losing the job that is causing us stress, and lot of stress is leading to anxiety and anxiety leading to the depression, and the isolation is also causing depression. So suddenly we have seen that cases of mental problems are arising, and once we will see the prevalence rate during this 4 or 5 months will certainly will increase, and the only way to come out with the mental health issues are that you please occupy yourself, take the help of your friends and family, talk to friends regularly, engage yourself in hobbies, and maybe uh, spiritual health can help you. Yoga, meditation can work as a medicine, and since the mental health is not a frontline problem right now, but I have seen that the frontline workers are facing a lot of stress, lot of anxiety. And 3 days before, we have done a mental health program for the viewers. So where they are telling that the staff working, and paramedical staff, medical staff working in the hospital, they are fearing more, anxiety is very much, stress is very much. So they have to uh, deal with it for the time being and take proper steps. Physical health is paramount. If physically they are good, mentally they are going to stay happy, healthy, and that is the my message. Thank you.
So the lockdown and isolation has certainly increased the stress, the anxiety, and the number of cases of depression in the society. But we can work on it. We can keep ourselves occupied. We can continue talking and interacting with our friends and family members. And a lot of stress is being taken by the frontline workers. So they also need to work on their physical health and also the mental peace. So I'm sure that people would be working, and I feel the fear of unknown as to what is going to happen in future, be it as a part of a society or be as it a part of a personal life or a professional life, which is creating a tremendous pressure psychologically on the mind of people. So they need to rest assured everything will pass and good times will come back once again. My next question is again to Dr. Sudhir Bhandari. Sir, the Bhilwara model of Rajasthan was praised a lot and it drew international attention as well. Could you please elaborate on that model as to what was that model?
You're absolutely correct. Before I talk about Bhilwara model, I would give you the concept how the increased number of COVID-19 patients are handled. Whenever there is an increased number of a infectious patient in a particular group or the community or area, then the protocol is that you need to close the movement of people from that area so they don't move out. You got my point? you contain the movement of this area. What has happened in the Raj in Jaipur, that is an area of a concentrated population. So when there's a good number of people in that area are COVID positive, you contain that area, you block that area, and you don't let the people from that area move out. Some may be symptomatic, some may be asymptomatic. Now, what happens? Why you need to block the movement of people from the area which has a positive cases? Because we don't know. Many could be asymptomatic, and because the people are asymptomatic, they may go and other infect others. So you need to block that area. People don't go out, and you test more and more, so that anyone out of the blocked area that patients are found to be positive, you can separate them, you can quarantine them, you can isolate them. And more intensely you do this blocking business, more is the rewarding results. So what happened when the lot of patients were discovered in Bhilwara, and the source of that, two of the doctor couples, they were seeing hundreds of patients every day, and probably they got infected and they started infecting many others. So this lockdown, it means closure and sealing of the area. Here the area was the total Bhilwara town. So it was totally curfewed. It was totally blocked. People were not allowed to come out of the house, and we called it to be ruthless closure or ruthless quarantine. So that when the people were not allowed to come out of their houses, there was a total lockdown, and they were all supplying the essential utility things to their home, and whatever they needed, it was supplied, so that it did not spread to outside. And that was the reason of the praise of the Bhilwara model, that total 100% effective lockdown and closure was enforced, so that the people couldn't move out and they could not infect the other people. So the infection died down early, and those people who started recovering, they become non-infectious, and hence the number of cases started decreasing. So if I summarize, in Bhilwara, because of the huge number of cases, there was a containment, and this was named as a ruthless containment, to close everything totally, provide all the essential supplies to the people inside, so that over the period of time, virus did not spread interpersonal, and it got died down, and number of patients also decreased. So this is the way. This policy need to be followed everywhere in a concentrated area whenever there is a more number of cases. I give an example. Whenever suppose there are few cases in a particular area, then what we do, we try to do the surveillance in 3 to 5 kilometers around that area, just to trace that people have now come in contact with, or other people in that area are not having signs of fever, cough, and cold. So this was a best example of very intense containment program and very intense testing, so that we could find out more and more patients and we could treat them better.
So I think the timely action and the proactive action matters a lot.
Yes,
And when the population is concentrated in a particular area, the effective measure is just to bring it under complete lockdown, because that is the only way of containing the spread. And also after closure, it is important that we increase the number of tests, so that we can again segregate the asymptomatic, the cases, the positive cases, and people who are not infected by this virus, and we can treat the patients accordingly.
very good.
Thank you, sir. My next question is, as we all know that vaccination is going to be the sure shot solution for this problem. So my next question to Dr. Arvind is, what do you think is the status of vaccination? And I'll ask Dr. Sudhir also the same
Like
question
first,
one
let
by one,
Dr.
because
Dr. Bandari, sir,
Okay,
please.
I'll say about the vaccination.
Yes.
You know what happens? It is a very new kind of vaccination. I'm sure Dr. Arvind is very vocal about the iatrogenic creation of the vaccine, which I'll not be able to tell much, because still it is a lot of confusion going on. But definitely it was a very new encounter of us, and it was not a vaccine virus in air common. So there was no endeavor to make vaccine before. But you'll be happy to know that 300 establishments world over are working on the vaccine making. 8 to 10 establishments are in India also. Whenever we make a vaccine, it goes through the 4 phases of trial: phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and phase 4. This vaccine creation has already entered in the phase 3 trial of the vaccine making channel. And once it is in phase 3, soon it will be in phase 4 for the human trial. And we hope to get this vaccine at the end of this year or by November to December. So the good news is that the way vaccine making has reached into the phase 3, we might have vaccination available for COVID-19 by end of this year. This is number one. Secondly, you'll be happy to know we got genetic sequencing done of COVID-19 infection in Jaipur, and in SMS we got 100 plus sample tested at Delhi, and we found out the 4 kind of genetic composition of lineages. So we have also sent our observations to National Institute of Serum Institute of Virology to Pune, which will help in making the vaccine, which will be useful for them. But till vaccine comes, we have to protect our elderly population. We have to protect our senior citizen. We have to protect ourselves and our all the children and adults. That's the reason we'll have to continue using face masks, hand washing, as well as social distancing till the vaccination comes. Once the vaccine comes, then definitely there'll be a time gap as it happens in vaccines like an influenza vaccine. The immunity starts building up after 1 month or so. So we are in a phase 3. A lot of human trial have already begun, and another 3 to 4 months we should have vaccine with us. But meanwhile, something more important available, which has not been established, but in America it is being used a lot. They have been using a rapid antibody test, which can confirm whether a person has been infected or not, and it gives an idea about the management of exposed patient and non-exposed patient. So coming back to the vaccine issue, we are likely to have vaccine by year end, and there are 300 institutions world over is trying to make vaccine. 8 to 10 are in India, and by end of this year we should have vaccine available.
Thank you, sir. They are also saying that herd immunity is also going to build by that time, by the end of year, the way
Uh,
the
I would like to say, what is herd immunity? Herd immunity is a situation when 60 to 70% of population gets infected, so that antibodies are formed against that infection to be available, and in society the infection doesn't spread. But I would like to say that 60 to 70% population means 130 million people we have, 130,000 million people we have. So half of the population till it gets will not get a herd immunity. So yes, it is a good prospective thinking that we'll have more and more asymptomatic infections to happen. But herd immunity is a distant dream, distant goal before. Like I give you the best example. We have herd immunity against the normal E. coli infection. You must have seen any of the friends and family coming from America
Coming from outside.
goes out for dinner and they develop diarrhea or tummy upset, while all
yes.
of us tolerate the best of Indian restaurant food because we have a herd immunity against E. coli or some food viruses. So herd immunity is well said, but it will take little more time because it develops unless 50 to 60% of Indian population has been affected.
So
Yes.
there's one more perception about it that certain people have already had this virus, have gone through this, and they have recovered without being aware of it. They've taken antiviral medicines and the normal medicines for cold and cough, and they've recovered, and they're not even aware of it. This has already created that immunity in them. Is
Yes,
it true?
very correct. Many people might have, many people, they could be symptom like simple mild cough and cold and they recovered. So that's the reason to find out which population is affected earlier without any visibility or which population has not been affected. Antibody test has been devised. Whenever patient gets infected with the COVID-19 patient, he develops antibody. So when you do the antibody test, it comes out to be positive in people who have been infected. There are 2 types of antibodies. One is IgG, another is IgM. After someone gets infected, IgM appears within 7 to 8 days, and IgG appears after 10 to 14 days. But what accident started doing antibody tests in our country a month before. But all the antibody kits came to us, preferably they came from China. They were not correct kit. We also did a trial testing in SMS. We tested in 168 patients the antibody test who were all positive. It was found to be negative in all the patients except 67. So the authenticity of kit test was not established. US, they have been doing a lot of kit tests now. So I'm sure in due course of time, if we'll have an authenticated kit test, that will be a useful test to find out which is the population only stands infected and they have recovered and which is the population which is uninfected so that they should go for vaccine and we should be very careful.
True, sir. I would like to ask the same question from Dr. Arvind. What is your take as to the by what time will we be able to get the vaccination, and what is the status of vaccination?
Puya, I must tell you that COVID 19 is not a new phenomena. In 2003, it started in China, in a Fushan city, and that time it was given the name SARS, Sudden Acute Respiratory Syndrome, and it is again caused by the coronavirus. And since that, for the 2 months it was there, and it was like 5 to 6,000 patients were there, and 800 were killed. But that time we did not develop the vaccine because we thought it is a one-time phenomena, and but the virus was novel that time. It was first time in the history of the human that the coronavirus was detected, and similarly, coronavirus was started studying in Wuhan Center. And 2018 to 2019, they were working very hard for making some changes or to create a vaccine over it, but something went wrong, and then we should be able to make a vaccine. It is for the knowledge for the listeners to that key the mutation of the coronavirus, novel coronavirus has almost stopped, and it has mutated 30 times. We have now genome of 30 viruses, and the last kind of the genome what we have, we are focusing on it, and two type of vaccines are trying to be made. That one is like antibodies based, and the other is very I mean small dose of non-pathogenic live virus can be induced, so the body can give the antibodies but not the disease. And both the vaccines are in, as sir has told us very nicely, that there are four phases of the clinical trials, and third phase is under currently going by 2 or 3 major pharmaceutical companies, and they are going to come in 3 or 4 months. And that vaccination is the one solution. And the best part is that now the pathogenicity and the genome is not changing. So maybe one vaccine will help us to control this coronavirus. And second thing, I must assure everybody, wherever the vaccine is going to be produced, it is going to be manufactured in India, because we are the vaccine hub of the world. And because of the high population and high demand of vaccine, India is certainly going to be a hub of producing the vaccine, maybe under license from other pharmaceutical companies. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I hope this happens soon, and India should be the country which makes this vaccine and be help others also in getting this vaccine. My next question is to Dr. Sudhir Bhandari. Sir, what should people who've been diagnosed with as a confirmed case of COVID-19 do?
What should people?
Who've been diagnosed as COVID-19 patient, who've been
Yeah.
infected with this virus, what should they do? Because there's
Now,
a lot of fear
yeah,
also how to
yeah.
handle it.
First of all, it is a very important question. First of all, anyone who is diagnosed to have COVID-19, he has to meet a doctor and to find out that does he have any symptoms or not. As I told you, 80% people will have no symptom, but they could be spreaders. They could spread this COVID virus to their family, their friends, etc. So if they have adequate amount of facilities at their home, or facilities means they should have a separate room, isolated room, they should have a separate bathroom. They should not share the separate bathroom. If possible, if they should not have old parents or the people with comorbid conditions at home who are likely to have more of the infection. So if the patient is eligible for home facilities to avail, then patient with no symptoms or patient with very mild symptom with the concurrence of doctor, they we can be allowed to go home. But when they go home, they have to stay separate. They have to use separate bathroom. They are not to mix with the family. They have to do hand washing. They have to keep round the clock mask, which is very important, so that they don't infect other people. And they have to quarantine themselves for 14 days. Could be by 5th to 7th day they can get a COVID RT-PCR test done, and before 14 days they can get a second COVID RT-PCR test done. Sometime with the newer guidelines, you may just get even test once if you don't have any symptom. So this is one they should do. Secondly, if they have mild to moderate symptoms, cough, fever, etc., there is a oral treatment which can be given at home under supervision of doctor. But if they have moderate symptoms, or one of the very important thing I would like everyone should know, there is a pulse oximeter. I would just now show you the pulse oximeter, that every person should keep a pulse oximeter handy or try to acquire this a small instrument available at the chemist shop. And pulse oximeter shows the oxygen level in the lung. So any person who is found to have a COVID positive test, they should buy a pulse oximeter, which is not costly, cost 1,000, 1,200 rupees. They should keep checking their pulse every day. Now, this pulse oximeter is like this. You can see in my hand, there's a small instrument I'm putting on my finger, and you'll be able to see on a screen that what the readings are. And this pulse oximeter shows the oxygen level and pulse level. I see my oxygen is 98%. This is, it means I'm healthy. I don't have any COVID. So every person who is a COVID positive, try to have the pulse oximeter, keep recording their oxygen. This is a small instrument, and pulse oxygen should be above 90%. So people should keep monitoring the oxygen levels, even if they are asymptomatic at home. And once the oxygen level is above 90%, they don't have any cough and cold, they are comfortable, they should stay at home with all the three: breakfast, lunch, and dinner, mild yoga, positive mood relieving, mood relaxing music they should listen. They should keep happy and not worry at all, with the element of confidence that they are going to recover 100%. Those who are mild to moderate symptoms, that they have cough, cold, or if they feel that their saturation level is falling down, saturation level, they should meet the doctor and they can be kept in hospital under observation. As I talked to you, there are different modalities of treatment and drugs available. They can be given. If required, they can be investigated by a doctor. And if they are under medical supervision, it is a little safer. The moment they are in the safe zone, moment their oxygen is being maintained, moment they have normal X-ray or the CT scan, moment they have no symptoms, and the moment doctor feels that he has become almost mildly or asymptomatic in spite of having positive COVID test, they may be sent home if they have enough facilities there. Otherwise, they continue to stay in hospital. If patient is found to be positive, he is a senior citizen and he has a comorbid condition, then it is prudent that he is sent to hospital. He is observed in the hospital. His all other diseases, sugar, blood pressure, heart problem, need to be monitored. And there are different modes of treatment available for COVID-19 patient. If they have pneumonia, if they have no pneumonia, if they have a suspected blood clot in the lung, which happens in COVID-19 patient, so they can be subjected to echo, pulmonary injury, etc. And then treatment can be planned. And all these serious patients, or all these senior citizens, or all people with COVID-19, even if when they become normal, even if they become COVID negative, they need not to be discharged from hospital. They should stay in hospital for 5 to 7 days till they are comfortable and till attendants are comfortable that yes, patient is stable. So the moment COVID-19 test comes out to be positive, you first, I would say, stop worrying. because 97 to 98% of patients are going to be all right. You need to be careful. You need to show concern if the age is above 60 and they are comorbid condition. The moment COVID-19 is diagnosed, again, follow the same protocols of life, strong masking, strong hand washing, and strong social distancing. Regarding masking, I would like to tell you a few things. There is a fashion. People know something about N95 mask. You must
Yes.
know this is an N95 mask which I've been showing to you, which I use as a doctor. This is an N95 mask. N95 mask is not required for normal person. N95 mask is required for medical professionals, health professionals, those who come in contact with the patient. We who see the patient, nursing staff who see the patient, technician who does the test, nursing staff who does the blood test or ECG, they require this N95 test. Secondly, all those who are COVID positive, I again repeat, all those who are COVID positive, they should use this N95 mask so that they don't throw out in the public. But COVID positive patient, if they are maintaining social distancing, quarantine and isolation, then they could be happy with these surgical masks also. For a common man, these surgical masks are very good. They are triple layer surgical masks. You can use them and you can just use them. Now, what do these triple layer surgical masks they do? That they doesn't let the droplets go into air. They doesn't let the droplets fall on the solid surface. They doesn't let the droplets enter in your mouth. So for common man, who is not going to hospital, who is not coming in contact with positive patient, who is COVID negative, he is going to market, he is going to meet his people around, the surgical mask is enough. But these days, I would strongly recommend the handmade cotton masks are the best. Why? Because these surgical masks get wet because of the moisture of the breathing, they need to be discarded. And you need to discard them very carefully and nicely. The cotton mask, you can make designer masks, you can make colorful masks, you can match your clothes, etc. And few cotton masks you should have. The advantage of cotton mask is that you can use them, you can wash them, dry them, iron them, and you can use every day again. So cotton mask is also one of the very important thing which you can adopt for. But COVID positive patients, if possible, they should use N95 so they don't infect, more so if they have been home quarantine. But you stop worrying, stay happy, nothing to worry about it if you don't have the compelling or the comorbid issues.
Sir, I'm sure the information that you have shared regarding the masks, which masks is required to be used, and also about the pulse oximeter and the treatment which needs to be required. One needs to see the doctor immediately, get the test done, and
And
if you
especially,
are
I would strongly say that all the senior citizen, elderly people, if they are at home and if accidentally anyone is contacted COVID-19, I would recommend everyone should have this pulse oximeter and keep monitoring the health of elderly people, even if they are asymptomatic. Again, I repeat, even if the patient who is COVID-19 but he doesn't have any symptom, keep monitoring the levels of oxygen in the blood, which gives an idea that what has been the involvement of lung. And it is a very simple equipment any doctor can make you understand about.
thank you, sir. My next question is to Dr. Arvind. What are the effects of this stigma and discrimination on COVID-19 patients?
Basically, it is a perceptional and fear psychosis that corona patients are not treatable. And once you have corona, you are going to spread it like a super spreader. And but in reality, 80% of the cases are asymptomatic. Patient doesn't know that he's a COVID infective, but he may be the spreader. And the stigma is psychologically, it really hits it. And psychologically, he's taken and seen as a different person coming from different planet. And but they need more care, more support, and they are not the person who has going to make you the illness, but you might be ill from other sources. They are not the only source to get the corona. So they should understand the condition of the fellow human being, and treat them with sympathy, empathy, and trying to provide all kind of medical help and psychological help to him. That will be great for his recovery also, and to provide relief to the other members of the family.
So it is more of a fear psychosis which affects the patient, and we need to work on that parameter. My next question, I would be taking up my last question, though this session is quite interesting and informative, but due to the time constraint, my next question is, yes,
I would like to share in the same context. The fear is more detrimental than the disease itself.
Yes,
yes.
sir.
Many of the asymptomatic patients, they have no symptom, but they are full of fear and the scare. So many times, I think rather than my patients or our patient, they become Dr. Arvind patients. 80% are his patients than our patient because they have more of fear psychosis than a medical disease. So that's the reason we should give a strong message to the people at large. Don't worry at all. Have confidence. Try to maintain your good nutrition, good sleep, good yoga, maintain your healthy diet, and stay happy. And rest assured that if you are healthy, if you are young, if you don't have any comorbid condition, probably no reason to worry about it. It is a phase which you have contacted an infection which will pass off without any outcome and without any residual complication. That is the confidence everyone should have.
Sir, I would like to ask you one more question in continuation. Is there some sort of rejection?
There is some voice issue.
Hello?
I did not get your question. Yeah,
Sir, my next question is that, is there some sort of rejection by the society also, even though the patient has recovered from COVID-19?
yeah. I'll tell you, it always happen. It is a nature of law. We faced swine flu 8 years before. I must share my first experience when we had a first patient of swine flu in SMS. There was a change of duties. Every doctor was scared not to see him. And we went to see the first swine patient. I went to see the first swine flu patient in ICU with a robot like kit, like an astronaut with all protective equipment. Over the period of time, now we have 20 swine flu patients in ward. We just keep a mask for our protection and we go see, hello, and we acclimatize ourselves. So similarly, this fear was rejection. Where the feeling of rejection was because of fear of contamination, fear of spread, which was much more 2 or 3 months before. But more and more now people are learning that these three standard precautionary methods, which I've been telling again and again, even if there's a neighbor who is COVID positive, even someone in colony is COVID positive, if someone nearby your house is COVID positive, you are not going to contact it if you follow these standard protocols of masking, social distancing, and hand washing. So this initial rejection is getting diluted now. I would say it is almost disappearing. But yes, in some quarters it could be there. People are little scared, but I must convey to all the people at large that even if there is someone in neighborhood, someone in your colony, someone in like area is found to be positive, ask him to follow the protocol and ask him to maintain all the standards of social distancing, and you people also do it. Probably there is no risk to life. Secondly, I'm sure all of you have learned about Arogya Setu app. It
Yes.
is better that every citizen, every household member downloads the Arogya Setu app. You know what is the advantage of this Arogya Setu app? That it shows your proneness of contacting any infection. If anyone in your colony, anyone in your area, anyone in your neighborhood is found to be positive, because these days all the testing of COVID-19 is being done on RT-PCR app. The Indian Council of Medical Research is allowing testing only if the mobile number of patient is fed in the testing app. so that if you have registered yourself on Arogya Setu, you can find out the presence and the positivity in your area and locality. So you little can be more careful. If there's no positivity on Arogya Setu app, you can be rest assured. So coming back to your bottom line question, yes, there's a scare, there's an element of rejection, there's an element of resistance in society. But as the time is passing, as the people are learning that it is not that detrimental, as the people are learning that by using the protective methods, you can protect yourself and your family. I think this rejection is now dying down. It is going much, much lesser than before.
That's a positive news that the fear of the rejection rate is going down and people are accepting it. I think it is the new normal, the new way of living.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
we need to understand and be supportive to the people who have been infected by this virus, that they will recover and they would be absolutely fit and fine, and we can interact with them like we used to do with them
A
earlier.
person need to realize that if any one of his family members get infected, he will go out of the way to take care of him. He will not reject his family member. So he should not do the rejection attitude he should not have towards a neighbor or the someone in colony. I think he need to be as caring as he would be to his family.
Yes,
So I think it is going out, man, and people are becoming more sensible. And I think all the three principles, even in handling a COVID positive patient in your colony, handling a COVID patient in your family, handling a COVID positive patient in your office or a friend or a school or college, just use those three basic principles I shared with you. Probably you don't have any risk to contaminate, have the contamination.
thank you, sir. Coming to my last question, the SMS hospital was the first hospital to use chloroquine.
Hydroxychloroquine, yes.
SCQ.
You
And
can use SCQ.
anti-HIV, sir, I'm a non-medical
Yes,
person, so
that's
I
okay.
have a
Even that
difficulty.
your pronunciation is very good. You're looking
Thank
pronouncing
you.
like a doctor. No,
So
SCQ. Yeah,
tongue twister, so I just missed on that.
right.
And anti-HIV drugs, lopinavir
Yes,
and
lopinavir or
ritonavir.
ritonavir. Yeah,
Yes, in the first few patients of COVID-19, which delivered excellent outcomes.
yeah.
Are there any new advancements in the treatment of
Yes,
COVID-19 that
yes,
SMS is
yes.
currently working on?
Yeah, we have been doing one of the latest antiviral drugs, which has been recommended by WHO, is known as remdesivir. You must have seen world over in US. It is a very costly drug. There is a trial, the study going on by WHO. They are selecting group of people. To one group they are giving SCQS. To another group they are giving antiviral drug, which you talked about, anti-HIV drug, lopinavir or ritonavir. And third they are giving remdesivir. So we have been a part of this trial and we are using all the three drugs. Then, as I said to you, that we are doing all the critical patients the COVID plasma therapy. We are taking all those patients who have recovered from COVID. I will make an appeal to the people who have recovered from COVID that after 2 to 3 weeks of recovery, like a blood donation, they save a life by giving their plasma because their plasma will have antibodies against the COVID. They should come voluntarily forward and we take the COVID plasma of those recovered patients and give to critically ill patients. We have been using the latest drug known as monoclonal antibodies. We have been using the latest drug to dissolving clot in the lungs and not many other things. We have been using a newest drug, which is a newest study which has come in England that if you use the steroids in a lower doses
Salutason.
in some patients who have a pulmonary pneumonia, you can be useful. So we are using a cocktail of drugs. The best part about SMS Institute is that we strategize the treatment for each and every patient. So there is a strong medical support in our state, in our city. So you could be rest assured. I have a feeling that ignoring this medical support which you have, being confident of a strong medical support, I would recommend people at large to follow strictly, stiffly, sincerely, honestly, the three basic principles of hand washing, masking, and social distancing. Probably will tide over this crisis, which is very important. And another very important thing is that try to build up your immunity by good nutritive diet, taking lot of fruits, by doing little physical activity, yoga, giving positive spirits of your mood, keeping yourself happy, keeping yourself busy, listening to the good music and good programs, and making sure that This is a time to spend with family, interacting more with your children and parents. So at least I'm sure every cloud has a silver lining. Every difficult situation has something good, and probably in the kind of a social cohesiveness of a family, this situation has given a lot of chance to enjoy that part also.
Thank you, sir. And during the entire session, you have emphasized on three parameters or three things which are very, very necessary: the
I
masking
will I
and
I will like to intervene.
yes,
I will
please.
give a small SMS: social distancing, masking, and sanitization. So next time,
Excellent.
if
You're very correct. You're very,
Yes.
very.
it can be abbreviated as
Here I
SMS.
would like to share one or two things. When you talk of hand washing, my message to my all viewers will be that it is not the casual hand washing. You need to wash your hand thoroughly on the front and back. You need to wash between fingers. You need to wash back. And if you are wearing a half sleeve shirt, try to wash the elbows. Number one, take almost 15 to 20 seconds, not less than 20 seconds to do the thorough washing of your hands, and make sure that accidentally you don't touch your fingers to the nose, eyes, etc. This is number one. Secondly, sanitizing does the same thing like hand washing, and sanitizing should also be done the way you wash. Now, some people have a habit of every 5 minutes they will take a sanitizer and doing like this. You need not to do that. Make sure, as in when you suspect that you have touched some hard surface, you have touched some area, you have touched the handle of the door, you have touched the railing, or you have touched some solid surface while in driving the car, etc., you need to wash. So you need to wash your hand only if you touch your hand somewhere. That is something very important. Thirdly, it is you should know about it that whenever a droplet infection out of COVID positive patient comes, it falls on solid surface like tabletop, car, railing, etc. It can be alive for 5 to 7 days. The virus can be alive to 5 to 7 days. So you should try to acquire a sodium hypochlorite 1% solution, and your office area, your reading table, your area where you are likely to touch your hand should be wiped off by the spraying of the sodium hypochlorite 1%, which is very important. If the droplet falls on the paper, your books, your cardboard, etc., the droplet may keep the virus alive for 24 to 48 hours. So make sure that if someone positive has handled your books, someone positive has handled your any cardboard or any paper thing, the virus may remain alive for 48 hours. So you need to make sure that if you touch your those parts also, you need to wash or clean your hand. So cleaning and the washing should be done only if you have recollect that you have touched your hand somewhere. Suppose for 4 hours you have not touched your hand everywhere, fine. You could and or you could give that much gap to clean your hands, etc., which is very important.
Thank you, sir. And coming to my last question to Dr. Arvind, how severe is this crisis for the people who already have pre-existing mental illness, and what can they do to cope up better with this situation?
Pre-mental problem with the physical problem generally exaggerate the mental status of the problem, and it is a combination of a physical problem and then the mental problem. So the anxiety, stress level, and psychosis, or maybe mass phobia, because of the social media. I have forget to tell that the social media, stay away from the social media if you want to think positive. And
I fully
mass
agree with
phobia.
you, Dr. Arvind, because there's so much of information and misinformation. We call it these days University of WhatsApp. So I would request everyone that please refrain yourself. If you want an authenticated information, better talk to your doctor, or there is a premier body in our country known as ICMR, Indian Council of Medical Research. It will be prudent to go for the guidelines of Indian Council of Medical Research, and you should have full faith in your country, full faith in your system, full faith in your doctors. Why? The reason of having confidence and full faith in your country and medical fraternity and medical things in our country, because look at the sickness and the death rate of the Western world. Look
Yes.
at what has happened in Italy and America and England, I think
It's
we are
30-10.
much better. We have been able to contain much better. So it is a moral responsibility of all of us that we have to prevent the interpersonal spread. You have been successful in containing the initial spread by lockdown. So there's no reason to worry, no reason to have stress, no reason to have anxiety, knowing that our system is very strong. We are going right. We are doing very well. We have enough world-class treatment facilities if at all accident happen. And we have a moral responsibility to prevent the interpersonal spread. I think these few things will keep you off the stress and mental worries. Am I correct, Dr. Arvind?
Yes, sir. And I will take the permission from you to say that we have conducted this webinar with the best authority of COVID-19. सर आपके साथ जो हमने करा है आज
I
वेबिनार,
thought
दिस
I
इज
thought you were referring to Mrs. Agarwal.
Thank you, not at all, sir.
Sir,
So,
you are the
guys,
one of the best authority, and listening from you and having learning from you will help a lot of people to get a direct knowledge and know what's up university knowledge. And we are going to beat this COVID-19 with the best of our efforts and with the experiment you are doing and the kind of authority and the kind of experimental trials you are doing. This is wonderfully good, sir. For me personally, being a doctor, it has been such a learning for listening you for more than 1 hour.
Can I
I
add
love
some
it.
more thing? Yeah, so can I add one more thing, Dr. Arvind?
Yeah.
That from 21st June to 30th June, government is celebrating a week to reduce the mortality. Mortality means the death and complications. So I must share with you that we have only 2.3% deaths or the mortality. We can further reduce. You know how we can reduce? Because 30 to 40% patients who expire because of comorbid condition, they have been reporting late to the hospital.
Hospital.
I would strongly recommend to all my colleagues and all my viewers that slightest symptom if you have, please report to hospital. We could be the best country in the world by further reducing this mortality or the sickness or the death rate by 30 to 40%. If we report any sickness, any symptom in elderly people or comorbid condition, any person early. So we have discovered that 30% of people who had complications and it costed them life was those people for days and weeks, they did not report to the medical
Yes.
hospital. So a strong message is that
Ignorance.
don't worry, come to hospitals, they are very safe and protected. And immediately, if you have any symptom, report to the hospital as early as possible. And this is more valid and more correct for elderly people, parents and grandparents, slightest issue they have with all the protection of masks, all the protection of taking care, please report to hospital early as possible. And I'm sure we can save another 30 to 40% people if they report to hospital very, very early. So I think that is again our moral responsibility to ensure that people report to hospital early rather than getting worried. अभी hospital नहीं जाएंगे वहाँ पे COVID चल रहा है ऐसा नहीं है. They should come to hospital early and early.
thank you, sir. I'm sure this is a very important piece of advice that the moment you feel the discomfort and you see the symptoms of cough and cold and you are under a
I
comorbid,
would say not cough and cold. If you have any symptoms, because
Any
many of our COVID patients might have abdominal symptoms, might have non-specific symptoms, any health issue someone has, please report to hospital early. Don't delay or don't stop going to hospital on a pretext that there is a lot of COVID patient there. There is a risk of getting infected. No. If you have slightest discomfort of any kind, please reach hospital and contact doctor early as possible. We can prevent or reduce the complications by 30 to 40%.
That's very nice. While the recovery rate in India is increasing, but then so is the number of new cases every day. So we all need to follow the guidelines which have been issued by the Ministry of Health and also ensure the 3 mantras that Dr. Sudhir Bhandari has given us again and again during this session, that please use mask, practice social distancing, and use sanitizer and wash your hands again and again. And please do not fear this virus. Till the time you take due precautions, you are absolutely safe and sound. Do not let this virus affect your mental condition. And I also believe that this is an opportunity. When we look at the positive side of it, many of us have started cooking at home. We've learned so many new recipes. We've started bonding with the family members, spending more time playing games. So this is the positive side, which is also a result of the same COVID-19.
Best joke we have these days is that few of the children realized now that how loving their parents were because they had no time to spend with the parents. So I think what you said is correct, and people should follow the SMS advice given by Dr. Arvind. So I think his SMS is very relevant.
And
Thank you,
sir,
sir. I
we,
thank both my
our hospital
guests.
name is also SMS.
Oh, thank you.
I
Sir,
thank both my
thank,
guests, especially Dr. Sudhir Bhandari, sir, for taking out his precious time. I completely understand. There's a lot of pressure and a lot of work that currently is there, and a lot of responsibility that you have, but still you manage to come on our platform and share such information, such useful information and tips with the viewers, which surely would have added to our knowledge regarding this virus, and would have also taken us away from the myths that are already moving in the society through these WhatsApp messages that we read every day. Thank you, sir, for being with us. Thank you, Dr. Arvind, for being with us
thank
on
you.
today's session. Really appreciate, and my due respect and regards to you.
Okay,
Thank
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 you,
you.
sir. Thank you, sir.